So that gave you the confidence to be like, I can do it. I mean, what did you learn there? I mean, you just some sort of a freak who doesn't get blisters and stuff, or like how to? A blister would take you out, right?
Yeah, it could. Well, I mean,
Take
there's
me out.
Depends on how much of a wuss you are.
Okay,
Yeah.
well.
yeah. No, it definitely helped me dial in my gear too, like shoes and socks and all. There's so many little things.
Yeah, I couldn't do 100 miles because I blister easy.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
There's a trail in North Dakota called the Maah Daah Hey Trail. It is 100+ miles of rugged single track through the desert of North Dakota, the Badlands of North Dakota, and it's become really popular for mountain biking. It's also become really popular for running. So people are trail running this, and Kadon Hintz has not only competed and won the most recently the full marathon, but you did the 100 mile and got a course record, and then you did the 50 mile and got the course record. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. And how was your experience? This was just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a great day. It was hot. It started out really nice. It was a beautiful morning, but we knew it was going to get hot. So my thought, I guess, from the start was to get out and try to beat the heat, and I felt really good. So after the race in the mid-afternoon, my car said 109 degrees. So, but I was well done. I was done well before that got that hot.
Yeah, you're the lucky one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you get to choose what time you take off, or
No, it's a set time. Yeah, the marathon distance and shorter races started at 8 a.m. and then the longer, the 50 mile, 75, and the 100 started at 6 a.m.
So you've been running for a while, but what's the difference between running, Fargo Marathon on pavement, something like that, to single track cow trails?
Yeah, that's it's night and day. The road running, it just really doesn't appeal to me as much. It's more hard on the body. It's more of a pounding. It's more of a monotonous, I guess. But running out on the trails, you get to experience nature and more listen to your body. It's actually easier on your body, easier on the legs. There's just little differences in stride and step make a big difference in being able to go longer. And
when you're running like you're in it to win it, right? Like that's kind of you're eyeing the guys wearing the more colorful shoes. Like those are the faster ones in my mind.
Yeah.
And so is that it's a mass start still, and you're trying to like find your pace right away, or are you trying what's your strategy?
So for I guess for all of the ultra races that I've done, they've been on the Maah Daah Hey, and you get pretty spread out pretty quick. I mean, it's a long trail, and everyone has a little bit different pace or different fitness. So you're right. Yeah, I looked at everyone else at the starting line and see like who's gonna push the pace, and but at the end, once I get started, I just try to listen to my body and how I'm feeling, and try to keep it at an effort level that I can sustain. Mm-hmm. But try to keep it efficient. And
I feel like the start is really important if it's single track. Do you have to? Is it kind of like an out the gate sprint just to make sure that there's nobody holding you up, or what? You have to waste a lot of energy right away?
There was a short lead up, maybe a couple hundred yards before you get through the gate and onto the single track.
Okay.
And so they announced it at the start to get in where you'll fit in. And
where did you get in?
So I started with there was probably half a dozen guys at the start, and kind of started at a leisurely pace, and then just before we got to the gate, I'm like, I feel pretty good. I'm I said to the guys, "If you mind if I just take the lead on this?" And I did. So
And they knew who you were, and you're like, yeah, go for it.
I guess I don't know if they knew who I was or not, but
So what does feeling good mean in 105-degree heat? I mean, you're just like, you're not achy. You're just like, I could go for a while.
yeah. Well, remember this was 8 a.m., so it wasn't quite that hot yet.
Yeah.
So had a little bounce in my stride. My legs felt good. My breathing felt easy. It was just comfortable. I think I had a nice lead up to the race in my training.
How do you tackle the distance and the mental, like, are you counting down or are you just zoning out? I feel like if I was to run that far, I would just have anxiety over, oh, okay, 25 miles, 24 miles. Oh God, when is this going to end? So do you count down? Like, what helps you mentally?
Yeah, for the marathon distance, I took it more one hill at a time. Yeah, I looked forward to. I really enjoyed running downhill more than uphill. It's just more flowy and easier, I guess. Easier to go faster. So I would just take it one hill at a time. And
Nolan and I are coming from an angle of how do you make it stop faster? Like, how do you end the suffering? And you actually enjoy it.
yeah, well, I guess I get the enjoyment out of running downhill. Of course, it hurts. There are moments where you get muscle cramps or soreness or whatever, but I guess remembering that there's an end in sight, and there's always going to be highs and lows. And
So is there a point in the race, in this race specifically, your marathon, that you're like, oh yeah, I got it?
Probably not until I hit the pavement, which is about a mile from the finish.
Is that you got the course record, or is that you've got first place?
That I suppose the course record I didn't know was in the bag until very near the finish.
Yeah.
Because anything can happen. But I was fairly confident that I would win the race. The guy that took second place was his first marathon. I'd done a couple of training runs with him, but he's a young kid, and it was fun to see him progress. And my wife was supporting me through the race, and we were with his family too, and so she gave me updates at where he was at. So that was nice to keep me motivated. But
So you all have some support out there, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where does your wife is your support team?
Mm-hmm.
So she'll drive to these different checkpoints. How does that work?
yeah, so there on the marathon course there are 2 checkpoints, and so yeah, where they just cross the road, the trail crosses the road, and so we take off running, and they drive to the checkpoint and have some food and hydration. And
Is she watching you like on Strava and, okay, this is where he is, so I need to be at this next spot then? Or
yeah, well, I had an estimated time that I'd get to the checkpoints, and ended up being pretty close on to that.
When you take off and you're thinking about are you thinking about the track record, or are you just thinking about the other people running?
A little bit of both.
Did you know the track record was within your reach?
I did, yeah, and I targeted it. I guess I thought it'd be a stretch, but I thought it was doable, so I went for it.
How much did you beat it by?
I think it was 4 minutes.
okay, and we're friends. I know that you've said you haven't run your whole life, but it seems like this is kind of extreme. So how did that come to be? Like, how did you get into this to begin with?
I guess I got to trail running on the Maah Daah Hey and from 2 different directions. So I got into running marathons with mostly because of my wife. She ran a few marathons and qualified for the Boston Marathon, and we were gonna go to Boston. And I'm like, well, if you're gonna run, I might like to give that a try too. And so I trained and We both ran Boston in 2016.
Was that your first? I mean, did you have a running background at all?
No, not really. I really disliked running in high school and track. I just didn't see the point. I guess it hurt, and just running around in circles didn't really appeal to me.
So your wife, who's a runner, is like, I'm gonna go for. She's got a goal of Boston, and you're like, okay, honey, me too.
Kinda, yeah, kinda. Yeah, she had one of her really good friends has a training business, kind of a side gig that she did, and she put together some training plans and coached her through that, and she was willing and able to coach me too, and so that I learned a lot about training and progression and running.
But it was your first effort then, and you qualified?
My first ever, yeah, I qualified in Fargo. Yeah.
And did your wife as well?
And she did, I think, she did in a different race.
Okay.
Can't remember which
So
one.
did
she
you
qualified
get to
for.
do Boston together?
And we did Boston together, yep.
Wow.
At
Yeah.
what point did you start enjoying it? You went from not liking running at all. Was it right off the bat, or was it after you qualified and said, oh, maybe I could be pretty good at this?
I guess even just being like pretty good at it, I didn't really enjoy running on the roads. In Boston in particular, I mean, it's a cool race. It's very historic and it's an amazing city, but there's so many people, and it was just crowded, and it's running on roads. It's pounding and monotonous, but so I mean, I enjoyed it. I don't know, type 2 fun, I guess. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun when it was over. But I think running in Boston made me realize how much I enjoyed mountain biking, and actually, so after that, I haven't ran another road marathon. I just would transition more into mountain biking on the Maah Daah Hey.
So you were in Boston surrounded by all those people, and you're like, I wish I could be in the Badlands.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So tell me about, you were mountain biking and things. When did you start doing ultra marathons?
So that was just 2020. So after 4 years of mostly focusing on mountain biking and riding and racing with some buddies, then in 2019, one of our friends ran the 100-mile Maah Daah Hey race, and we had a great group of guys that supported him through that. We had a blast just camping and eating and pushing Tim along to the finish. And so after that, we had such a great time that the group decided that we should do it every year. And Tim wasn't willing or able to do it the following year. So they asked me, and kind of peer pressure got to me between my friends, and then my boys, my teenage sons, were really the motivator for me getting into ultra running. When I told my oldest son Parker that, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, what do you think? Maybe we could run together. And he said, yes, you should definitely do this.
So does your son run with you still? Does he have an interest in running?
My kids, they live for running. They talk about it all the time. That and disc golf. They play a lot of disc golf too. But
and do they run in like with their school, or do they?
Yeah. They both they run at Bismarck High. They run cross country and track, and so they paced me. They ran on the Maah Daah Hey.
Wow. So tell me about your first ultra on. Well, what is an ultra marathon technically?
So an ultra marathon is anything longer than a marathon. So anything longer than 26.2
So
miles.
a 50 mile is an ultramarathon.
It's an ultramarathon,
And
yep.
100 is certainly an ultramarathon.
Mhm.
And the 100 is the first one that you did?
So I did a 12-hour race on the Maah Daah Hey, kind of as a training run. It would have been
Oh, yeah, it's just
2020.
12.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just to
Mark
yeah,
it by hours,
Yeah.
not by distances.
yeah.
Cool.
Just to see, because I had no idea what it would feel like to run that long. so I figured I should probably get some kind of idea. And it was a looped course, so it was safe, and there was food and
What's the
water and
goal
all
in a
that.
12-hour race? Just who can run the farthest?
Yep.
And how far do you end up running in 12 hours?
I think I ran about 60 miles.
And how many people are you running against, and how does that work? Or is it all just like time trial stuff?
It's mostly time trial. There's so they had I think it was 3, 6, 12, 24 hours, and you could run or bike or both. Actually, I think there was some that you'd do run for 12 hours, bike for 12 hours.
So that gave you the confidence to be like, I can do it. I mean, what did you learn there? I mean, you just some sort of a freak who doesn't get blisters and stuff, or like how to? A blister would take you out, right?
Yeah, it could. Well, I mean,
Take me
there's
out.
Depends on how much of a wuss you are.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
yeah. No, it definitely helped me dial in my gear too, like shoes and socks and all. There's so many little things.
yeah, I couldn't do 100 miles because I blister easy.
Yeah,
That's out. That's
yeah,
out.
yeah.
But that gave you the confidence to like, okay, I'm gonna do 100 miles now.
Yeah. I think I realized that after 40 miles or so, my pace really declined. Like I was still running at a hard effort or moderately hard. So it was a lot of work, but my pace really slowed down. So that was helpful for planning as far as the 100
In your
mile
20
day.
in your 12-hour run.
Yeah.
That was planning. So the first 100 mile then, is that the one that you took the course record for the 100?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
What do they give you? A T-shirt?
I got a belt buckle.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Keep my pants up.
Is there a moment in the 100 where you're going and like it feels like too much, like this is too daunting? Or are you just pretty even keel throughout? I've planned for this and I'm good to go.
Yeah, no, there are definitely highs and lows in any ultra effort. A few that stick out. There are some pretty low lows, like 30 to 40 miles in, where it was starting to warm up, and I was maybe a little dehydrated. I had a few muscle cramps, and I don't know if it just got kind of long and daunting, like you said. But then my crew got me through that, and then after about halfway through the 100-mile course, you cross the Little Missouri River. You can have a pacer, someone run with you. And so I was really looking forward to getting to that point and meeting even more of my crew, my family, my kids and my wife and my parents and my brothers. I mean, it was pretty amazing, the crew that I had out there. So just when you cross the river, then you come up a pretty steep incline to this bluff, and even when I was down in the valley, I could hear my wife cheering, and everyone else cheering too, but my wife on top of everybody. And that was super motivating. That like pulled me right up the hill. And
So even like the river crossing, do you stop? You take off your shoes, you take off your socks, or you just plow right through?
just plow right through. Yeah.
Yeah, blisters.
yeah. That makes for a good blister.
Well,
Okay.
Because actually right after crossing the river, it's a short climb up, and then I change my shoes and socks. And
Do you take advantage of the checkpoint, or does staying too long really just take you out of it, or what? How do you operate at a checkpoint?
yeah, it's kind of a balance. I try to cool off and refuel and rehydrate efficiently. because the longer you're sitting, the more difficult it is both to get moving again, as well as, I mean, it's time on the clock.
And
But-
you're sitting down.
Yeah, yep, sat down for most of them. Some of the early ones I didn't. I would just stand and move through. But
So that one of the earlier checkpoints you said it's daunting, and your crew kind of got you through that. What do you mean? I mean, were you actually saying it's too far, I don't want to do this, or what were you actually working through?
no, I guess just having all that support out there, there was no quitting for me that day. Like, I think it would have been, if it was just me, I wouldn't have signed up even, I guess. Or
And so that brings me to another question: is like 100 miles is even if you're capable of doing it, it's not an easy thing. So what's driving you?
yeah, and that's you're totally right. You got to have a reason to do it. And for me, my reason was to show my kids how to do something difficult, how to persevere, and show that if you dedicate your time and your energy, you can do things that are seemingly impossible.
How do you feel the support out there? Are they sending you messages on a smartwatch? Are they in your ear somehow? Like, how do you, besides your wife yelling really loud so you get up the hill, like, how do you feel the support besides them running with you or whatever?
Just knowing that they're out there, and that they would drive hundreds of miles into the middle of nowhere just to watch me run, or to give me some food and water. Yeah, I think just the love and support of family and friends was huge.
So on 100 miles, are you having to wear a headlamp for parts of it?
I did at the end, yep.
And so what's the difference there? I mean, that to me, then I'm thinking like mountain lion. I'm thinking like cliff that I'm not watching for. I'm in my head.
Yeah.
So how's that different?
Well, I'd done a little bit of training with the headlamp, doing some runs in the middle of the night just to get an idea of what that would feel like. But it was really quiet and peaceful, actually. I mean, the stars come out, and
I'm thinking Kate McKinnon and SNL. Like, yeah, that wasn't my experience. It's quiet and peaceful at mile 92 in the middle of the night.
yeah.
I mean, maybe you're experiencing some measure of peace out of this. That's,
You know what? You're right. Thinking back, it was quiet, but my at that point it hurt, and my focus was mostly on the trail and just getting it done.
so to me, I enjoy running. 10 miles is an extremely long run for me. The outer barrier of my physical ability. And at those times, I mean, I'm like, I got songs stuck in my head, like one part of one stupid song. I'm annoyed with myself. What are you thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of time to yourself. Are you listening to music? What's going on?
So the second half of that race, I was able to have a pacer, and we actually had, I was fortunate enough to have several pacers, people out there running with me, and my kids first and my wife each did a section, and so just talking with them, and my boys just got back from camp, so they gave me the summer camp recap. Just kind of talked my ear off, so that helped pass the miles and the time. And then
Are they then, and they're like, and this happened at camp, keep it up, Dad? Like, you gotta.
no, it was just it was more just a distraction, more a distraction than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're staying on pace during that time.
Yeah, I felt pretty good through that. One of the sections with my middle son, Owen, I remember starting to get some stomach issues where kind of hurt to eat. Wasn't able to keep up on my nutrition as well as I'd hoped. But worked through it and moved on. So then it was after after 75 miles, when it started to get dark, and there were some longer sections that I had some of my other running buddies that were going to pace me through that, and one of them in particular has had ultra running experience and ran several 100-mile races, and so his experience and knowledge was incredibly valuable too.
So on 100 miles, are you do you have to use the bathroom?
Yeah.
That was my next question.
Yep.
Like,
There's checkpoints,
Mm-hmm.
so you use the bathroom then, I'm assuming.
If you time it right, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I would think I'm fight or flight. Like, oh, it's been 13 hours and I haven't peed.
Yeah.
I should,
Yeah.
do what you need to do.
Anytime. Yeah. Anytime. I used a few bushes.
So tell me about even hydration. Are you have a vest, I suppose? Do you have a Camelback on there?
Yep.
What?
Yeah, I had a couple of vests and a couple of handheld bottles too. So for the longer sections, I would wear the vest. And then for the
what
short
kind
ones,
of, do you take supplements when you're out there too?
yeah, food and electrolytes and some salt tabs. And
What kind of food do you bring on? Like, I got like the gels and stuff like that. Is that pretty much all you're consuming? Or are you getting like a hearty meal in there, or what do you do?
yeah, ate at least for the first half of it. I ate some sweet potato breakfast cookies that my wife makes. Those are fantastic. I did some rice, like a rice concoction that I found in some ultra running book. Simple foods, mostly carbohydrates. Just whatever, something easy to digest.
And so tell me about the first race, the 100 mile. It's in dark now. And when do you know, first you're spread out so you know that you won the race at that point? Like, when do you know the finish line? Take me through that.
Yeah, so going into it, my first goal was just to finish it. And I thought if the weather cooperated and I had the fitness to get it done in under 24 hours, which would have been just a nice round number, course record at the time. So that was the goal. And then the stretch goal was 20 hours, 19 hours, I think, if everything went as well as possible. So I remember hearing at one of the later checkpoints, probably the last checkpoint, that I was 3 hours or something ahead of second place. So for me, then and most of it was just about getting it done as efficiently as I can. No sense in prolonging the suffering.
Your first 100, so you're starting to get like butterflies, like, oh, holy smokes, I'm good at this.
Yeah, I saw, well...
I mean, you're humble, but...
Yeah. I don't know, I don't think it really sunk in at the time. I was more focused on how my body was feeling and how much it hurt and how much I wanted to be done, rather than that I was good at it or anything like that. But
and in crossing the finish line, is it like relief, like, oh, there we go, it's done, or is it just like a moment of like disbelief? What is it?
Yeah, it was weird. And
how long had you been on your feet?
So that was the 20 hours, yeah. And the finish was really weird. One of my sister-in-law actually likened it to almost a funeral. It was like everyone didn't know what to say. It was like almost kind of somber. Like, is he gonna pass out, or is he? Yeah, it was really weird. Like that.
Just anticlimactic.
It was kind of like, oh yeah.
You feel like there should be this celebration.
Yeah, but I didn't have any energy at the moment to celebrate. I shared some hugs and said some thank yous and sat down and
took a nap
went to bed.
Yeah.
So after your first 100-mile race, you killed it. At what point? What's the decision like to? I'm going to continue this. You didn't retire off of that. You continued.
Yeah, I took some time off, and I don't think I ran for a couple of months after.
Why? Burned out?
Yeah, had enough. Yeah, took some time to recover. Of course, did just kind of ease back into it with some hiking, and went on a trip with my wife. And
Let's rewind a little bit. The night after your 100-mile, I'm assuming that's probably the most you've run in your life. So do you sleep soundly? Are you like, are your muscle cramps? Are you seizing up? What's that?
yeah, so I thought we had taken enough time and eased our way back into the truck. I got a bunch of help from my crew and some of my friends, and they helped me into the cabin where we were staying. And I was just actually like walking to the shower with a couple buddies, and I remember feeling dizzy, and then I passed out. And so they helped me into the shower, and it was kind of a mess. But
Is that just to be expected? Or
I don't know. I didn't know what to expect, right? Yeah, this is my first time. So,
Do you remember passing out?
well, I remember feeling dizzy, and then
Yeah.
Waking up in the
waking
shower?
waking up on the floor, and then I was like right outside the bathroom. They helped me into the bathroom and got a shower and a bath, and then like right around the corner into bed. So
But you're running into the finish. Like you're good. Those movements, good. Once you stop, that's it.
yeah, I'm sure that it's most of ultra running is mental. It's keeping your focus on moving forward, and then I think once I crossed the finish line, then my brain shut off. Like, you're done, and my body quickly followed. So.
And then, would you just get 8 hours of sleep, or did you sleep through the day?
Yeah, I don't think I did anything other than sleep and eat the next day. Yeah.
are you insanely hungry the next day? Is it just like, give me all the pizza?
I ate. I
Somebody give me a bacon, egg, and cheese?
ate all day. Yeah. Yeah, I think it took me 8, 10, 12 hours to make it from the bedroom to the couch.
Wow.
This
Yeah.
seems like a full-time job. You're not a full-time runner. Like,
Yeah,
you
no.
have a job.
Yeah, it's just,
How do you
this is
balance
our hobby?
How do
I guess
you
you call it.
Yeah, how do you make a hobby out of running 100 miles
Yeah.
and doing these kinds of things that actually disrupt your life?
Yeah, you gotta plan for it. I didn't go right back to work on Monday. I took a couple of days. Yeah, that would have
That would have sucked.
been. Yeah, I don't think that would have worked. I learned that lesson from Tim. He had planned on working the Monday after his 100-mile effort, but had to call in sick or whatever you want to call it.
Well, because
the
you're
morning.
sick.
Yeah, physically sick. So
I can't come into work.
yeah, I'm not gonna make it.
Do you do some sort of like rehab to the legs? I know, professional athletes have those compression things. So, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do to recover?
Yeah. Funny you mentioned the compression boots. My buddy has a pair, and I use those, and stretching and walking and just ease back into it.
Who's up next? Which do you have a friend that's doing it again, or are you?
Yeah, there's big talk about actually a couple of them hiking it next year, so we'll see.
And are you up for it?
I don't know. I think I'd have a good time crewing.
So you're gonna do the crew next year. You're not.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see how the winter goes and next summer. But
What's next for a race for you?
so I'm signed up for a race called the Javelina 100 in Arizona in October.
It's in the desert as well, probably.
Yeah.
So you're ready for it?
Yeah. It's but in October temps are a little bit more mild, 80 degrees or so. So it's a great course, a looped course. So it's really convenient for family to come down and my boys to run with me. And
I know that I couldn't do it. And so I feel like hallucinate. I would see God in the desert of North Dakota. Any sort of, you said it's all mental. What's the challenge for you when you're running? Because it's meditative, but it's a difficult mental challenge.
I guess I'm fortunate in my racing experience that I haven't had to fight the urge to quit very often.
Really?
Just because just because of the support that I've gotten. People are going to drive 100 miles into the middle of nowhere to help me run, then I'm gonna run, unless it's going to cause some permanent damage or
Is there
injury.
any element of fear of letting people down if you were to quit because they've traveled this far? Is that a motivating factor?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
So you're running 100 miles for shame.
Yeah,
Just to get around the shame.
yeah. But I guess the thought just never really crossed my mind, and I think that's part of it too. Is once you put the thought of quitting outside of your head and focus everything on moving forward, then it simplifies things. Because if you're second guessing, like if I could quit now, then this, or then the pain would stop, or whatever. If you're constantly thinking about that, then that's mental energy that you could be using to get done sooner.
So do you have any, like, either way, life lessons that something from your life that was drawn into helping finish the race, or take any life lessons from 100 miles in the desert and applied it to your life?
I'm glad you asked that, and because it's a reminder to myself that when I was running this, I'd remember thinking, and I'd just done some reading about the transformative power of great love and great suffering. And in ultra running and on the Maah Daah Hey, you get, or at least I've gotten both. I feel the love and support from my family and friends, and then I get the suffering from the long hours of running, and it just makes me appreciate, I guess, everything that I do have that much more. I'm fortunate that I have to seek out suffering and that I have love built in. A lot of people suffer for reasons beyond their control. I'm fortunate that I can choose my suffering.
It's that kind of all at once.
Yeah, it comes all together in ultra running.
Is there too quick of a turnaround in 100-mile races? Or
Yeah.
what?
Well, yeah, for me there has been. It takes a while to build up both the mental energy as well as the fitness, because it's a grind. Definitely takes its toll. So I ran the Javelina race last year, a 100-mile race a year for the last
And when
2
you're
to 3.
prepping for this one, I'm guessing there's probably a handful more participation than Maah Daah Hey, North Dakota.
Yeah, it's a pretty big race. There's 400 or 500 runners.
And what's on your mind? Are you in it to get a good, like, maybe a PR, or are you in it to, like, hey, I bet I could get a podium finish?
Yeah, that thought had crossed my mind last year, and then I guess I was curious to see how the Maah Daah Hey compared to some other more popular, I guess you could say, ultra races, and see if I could run with some of the elites or fast guys. That was a thought, yeah.
And last year you did this?
Yeah. I think I ended up taking 14th or so.
And there's some back and forth with some, like...
Yeah, I got to run with some guys that I'd followed on social media and had a nice conversation with them. It was cool. It was
So
Yeah.
when you show up to a race and there's 400, 500 people, and you come in and you take 14th and nobody's ever seen you before. Is that surprising to other people?
I think so. I
So
don't know.
nobody comes up to you and is like, "Who are you? What are you doing here? Why are you getting 14th?"
Yeah, the pretty good media coverage at this race, and so some of my family and friends from across the country were following it live, and I think I heard after the fact that they had mentioned my name somewhere in the third loop or something, and this guy from North Dakota hanging in there, and then kind of fell off, but
A hobby
had
runner from North Dakota.
yeah, had a moment anyway.
Is it something where you go down to Arizona and try to promote the Maah Daah Hey race and invite people up here to come check this out so there's more
Yeah,
than
the thought of
10 people running it?
the thought had definitely crossed my mind. I guess I don't know how to promote it that well. I talk to everyone that I see out there about it, like, oh, what races have you done? And well, I've done one, and it was this one, and you should come check it out. But
Would you be willing to share your like personal goal? Like what would you be happy with? What would you be unhappy with out of your next race?
I guess the stretch goal, and this is, pie in the sky. The Javelina race is a Western States qualifying race and a golden ticket race, meaning if you win or take top two, then you gain entry into the Western States 100 endurance run, which is like it's like the Boston Marathon of trail running. There's a lottery to get into the Western States, and the chances of getting in off the lottery are slim to none. So if I could take top two and get a golden ticket, that would be phenomenal, but realistically, that's unlikely. So finishing and getting another ticket in the lottery would be the second goal, I guess, and just spend some time running in the desert with my kids would be
So your support
main
crew's
goal.
coming with you?
Yeah, still, even willing to travel 1,000 miles down to Arizona. My wife's sister lives there, and got a buddy who has a place there, and I think my brother's gonna come, and so it's
Awesome.
it's a party. It's
Well,
a
if
good
that's your
time.
motivating factor, it's within reach. Cool.
I've never been a fan of running. So the fact that you hated running and came around to it and then excelled at it at that level, that's baffling.
That's cool. Well, we're cheering for you.
Well, thanks.
Thanks for talking with us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Brian Jackson with Mighty Missouri Coffee. With me is Nolan Johnson with Quantum Digital. So if you like how this sounds and looks, thanks to Quantum Digital, if you like the way that this smells and tastes, that's thanks to Mighty Missouri Coffee. Coffee to your door, mightymissouri.com.